Hello and welcome to Work University. I'm Annalisa Felix. I'm always asking people why they do what they do for work and how they got there. So I figured why not share this information? So thanks for listening and let's dive in. Today I had the opportunity to speak with street artist Karlos Marquez, who is a native of Los Angeles. We talked about his perspective of being an artist and the business aspect of being an artist as well. So let's get into it. Hello, this is Work University. I'm Annalisa Felix, and today I'm talking with Karlos Marquez, a Los Angeles artist. Karlos, you're from Los Angeles, is that correct?
Yes, I was raised here in Los Angeles. Been an artist here since 1984.
Okay. And you were a street artist to begin with?
Yes, originally I started as a street artist. I'm one of the original graffiti artists here in Los Angeles when it first started back in the early 80s.
Oh, okay. And now how many were there? Were there people doing pictures, or was it more graffiti or tags, or what was it like back then?
Back then, what's considered graffiti art were more of the traditional New York large murals, like something that you would see in a subway train. Mm-hmm. We were trying to mimic that here. Mind you, we did not have subway trains, so what we did was used walls as our form to express ourselves by doing graffiti art murals.
Mm-hmm. And at that point, had you been to New York yet?
No, actually, the way I got introduced to it was I saw a movie, and it showed these trains. It was a documentary called Wild Style, and it was a documentary showcasing these subway trains with these large mural graffiti on it. Mm-hmm. And I've liked art since I was a little boy, mm-hmm. and as soon as I saw it, I said, I want to do that.
Wow, okay. Well, let's talk about what it is. Tell me what it is and what it means to be an artist, what you do from your perspective.
In my perspective is when it comes to art, whether it's visual, written or spoken, it's just a way of an individual expressing himself. I'm sure you've heard that before. Mm-hmm. And I believe everybody's creative.
Yeah.
In one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
Like myself, I would love to sing. If I would, I wish God would have granted me with the talent of the gift of singing, right? So when I see people that sing and they sing very beautifully, or someone that writes poetry and they can, I'm also amazed of how people can put words together and so eloquently.
Right.
Those are things like that. So I think when it comes to being artistic, I think we all have some type of talent.
Right.
It just all depends how you express it, or if you do express it. I think everybody should express their
now,
talent.
in the kind of absolutely, and that's a good point, because everybody does have something, and looking at your art right now, what I've seen is, I don't know how to explain it. It looks like graffiti art, but it's high-end, stores, and it's really neat. I like it. It's like having a graffiti in your home, above
right.
your sofa.
Yeah. I get that a lot from people. Is what I did was I grew up also liking abstract art, mm-hmm. and abstract art is very action driven, just like graffiti art is. So, I like to call it graphstract. So mm-hmm. taking graffiti and abstract and smashing it together. Some people that are graffiti artists are transitioning to that because it's it's a good transition to be recognized as far as fine art,
Mhm.
because to me, graffiti, when what's considered graffiti art, and like traditional, say like New York, where you have some lettering and some type of character, that's typically a graffiti mural, right?
Mhm.
So it's evolved a lot where now you've got street art. And what I usually tell people when they ask me about street art, it just, to me, is just them using aerosol paint to create a mural. What makes it a street art piece, in my opinion, if it's illegal. If it's not illegal, it's just a mural.
Right, and I
You just
see
use
on your
aerosol.
site you have like a whole wall of lockers that are
Right.
painted, or a
So,
wall, or a sofa.
right. So what I've done there is I've taken graffiti, traditional graffiti, and I've kind of incorporated into design where I've had my clients say, "Wouldn't it look cool if you did this?" And to me, that's like asking a kid, "Would it be cool to make your own ice cream float at the ice cream shop?"
Mhm.
Like making your own, like you can add all the flavors you want. Like, of course it does. So I've just taken what clients have requested of me, and they said, this would look great as far as doing some, school lockers, right? Who
Mhm.
wouldn't, whenever growing up, would want to do some artwork on the lockers?
Right.
But when you have it set up as a design, it just brings a whole different design to it. It's not just now a wall of lockers. Now it's a piece of artwork that's more functional, that you can actually put stuff in it that people can use it in, say, in a loft setting.
Right.
And that's how you can able to bring it home. I like painting on fabrics. I started doing graffiti art on fabrics to a poster. When I say fabrics, either to do any type of upholstery or drapery, carpets. So graffiti does well if you know how to execute it and where it's more obscured, where you can't just flat out just put it there because it just doesn't lend itself well.
Mhm.
So what I've for trial and error, I've learned to sprinkle it, if I can use that word, into a design that when people look at it, it's obscured, but they look at it and they try to figure out like what really is that, but just a little splash of those elements that
Right.
we use within graffiti art, and that's what makes it fun, and that's what makes it cool because of the colors. So I think that's when you look at my pieces, they lend themselves well because I'm not just giving you, something that you would see like on a wall.
Right. And
Yeah.
now, getting more into the technical aspect then, using different types of paints on different surfaces and talking about them landing well, is this something you only learned to trial and error, or did you study?
I did both. I did study. I'm self-taught, but I'm also did go to school for art.
Mm-hmm.
And what art school taught me was just kind of it cleaned up the rough edges and introduced me to mediums that normally I would have used in the past, that are traditional type of medias that are used in artwork.
Mm-hmm.
So now a lot of the artwork that I'll do, it looks like I use spray paint, but I actually did it,
Mm-hmm.
and people, is when they look at it, they think, the first thing they ask me is like, "Oh, how much spray paint did you use that?" I said, "None at all." They're like, "Really? How did you make it look like that?"
Mm-hmm.
And just little techniques that I've developed and stuff right now.
Yeah.
What I'm doing right now, as far as being technical, I'm using a lot of texture
Mm-hmm.
into my artwork right now. So I'm
So what does
creating
that mean,
pieces.
texture?
Well, what I've done is that typically when you paint, a lot of people will paint on a canvas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, what I found and my friends have found it very witty of me is that I'm now creating panels that look just like a real wall. And so now graffiti art lends itself well to create something that you would see in the streets, because now I'm giving it to you in its true form of the way it should be painted. It to me, graffiti doesn't translate well into canvas. It just
Okay.
it's not the right texture or background
Mm-hmm.
to create a graffiti art piece.
I see.
And
Okay.
so
Well,
so what I'm doing right now is I'm creating cement panels and different textures that you would see on a wall, and then do my artwork on top of it, and then on top of that do a little bit of more of the abstract and like that. So a little mixture of a little bit of everything.
wow, so you're
And
creating
that's
the canvas per se as well as the art on top of it.
correct. So
Okay.
you're getting everything from the bottom up. So the panels will work well within in a home environment or a public environment. Right now I'm working with people that have projects for, say, malls, hotels, high rises.
Mm-hmm.
Because graffiti now has become more acceptable. Street
Right.
art is part of the norm now, and people are hungry for that out of the box type of artwork. They want to be cool. They give it to the millennials and the people that want to have that style of art and
Right.
incorporated in design or. So I'm having a lot of fun. And you would have told me 30 years that I would be working with these, high-end interior designers. I would have laughed at you, because I never thought that, I knew that I was going to take art into a professional level, but not in that type of setting where it's interior design or fashion.
Okay.
That's another thing
Right.
that I'm, taking into.
Oh, that's great. I can't wait to see that. Let me ask you
Yeah.
about, is there an administrative aspect of this?
Yes. Yes. I usually tell, people that I mentor or young artists that there's so many different aspects of about being an artist, and that you have to learn in being an artist. It's not just about you're just going to create, and then everything else is going to just magically work itself out.
Mm-hmm.
There's few people that I've known that have done that, and this just because they're just amazing artists, and they happen but they've had those people around them do those type of administrative type of things, like reaching out to galleries, reaching out to people that are looking for art in different venues, whether it's a fashion show, a film,
Mm-hmm.
what have you. I've been fortunate that I've grown up around in the industry of film and music, and so there's people that I can go to or network with to be able to try to get art within whatever type of setting that's available.
Right.
So when when I tell people that are trying to get themselves out there, you need to expose yourself and to not worry about the rejection.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you see 100 people and one of them says, "Yeah, that's all you need," and you keep pushing forward, so not be afraid to be rejected, because you're going to be rejected, and that's just life itself.
Right. So, other than painting, you have other aspects. You have to be the salesperson, the marketing,
Yes.
the PR, accounting.
Accounting.
Duplication, because I know you have print.
Right.
So, yeah, that's a whole business that you're running yourself. Is that right?
Yes. And I that's the portion that, people get discouraged about because they just want to create.
Mhm.
And I tell them, I said, that it's equally as important or even more important to, especially now that, when I was growing up, you didn't have social media.
Mhm.
If you wanted to show people your art, you'd have to create some type of portfolio and mail it to them.
Mhm.
Now you get the push of a button, you can send your portfolio, you can show your work.
Mhm.
So I think people, even though they may not know that they have more of a better opportunity to get out there because of social media. I mean, look at Instagram. I mean, it's made people rock stars,
Mhm.
literally. I've seen people become rock stars overnight because they're great artists and they're pushing it. And those people are posting, 2 or 3 times a day,
Mhm.
mind you, a day. They're posting something. They're showing people. And I think the more exposure, because now the world, because of the internet, the world has become a lot smaller, right?
Mhm.
So it's part of being an artist that you need to be out there until you get to that point where you can delegate that to people, where you have a PR person, you have if you're an artist and you start moving in more into the fine art or any type of sector where you have an art dealer,
Right.
then or a gallery represents you. But in the meantime, for those people that are trying to get some exposure, they're trying to make it in the art world, use social media as your venue to bring in people to look at your work. I do it
Yeah.
every day,
Mhm.
and it allows you to interact with people that are interested in your work.
Yeah.
I think clients, they want to have that relationship, and I tell people it's all about relationships. If you're starting off as an artist, I mean, I just went and sold to a client some art that she bought art from me from like 5-6 years ago,
Mhm.
and I reached out to her. All I said was to send her an email. I put up a couple of images of like, hey, here's some of my work that I'm doing right now, blah blah blah. She loved it and she bought a piece. Had I not
Wow.
done that,
Mhm.
that wouldn't have happened. I had another lady in Miami send me a message in Facebook, and I thought she was a friend of a friend, and she was like, I love this piece. Is this piece available? It just happened to be that I was doing inventory the day before, and I saw that piece, and I said, yes, I have it. It's in the studio. This is their dimensions, and mind you, I'd never shipped out a package over, the other side of the country.
Mhm.
Usually, I have, the warehouse or I have people that will take care of that, but I've never physically gone to FedEx and take care of that. So I went and I saw the process, and so when they say shipping and handling, there's a lot of work that goes into that.
Right.
So, those people, to me, I'm like, thank God for those people, because those are the people who are shipping worldwide, not just here locally.
Yeah.
So anybody that's starting off in art, I encourage them to learn different aspects. You have open source like, YouTube. You could learn. You can go in there. People
Oh
constantly
yeah.
posting ways of, how to get your work out. How do you value your work? That's another thing. I tell people it's like, you could charge by the square foot. So a lot of young people, I did an art show, and this kid was wanted a ridiculous amount for this art piece, right? And I
Mhm.
was like, wow, it's like, I wish I could be you. He's asking $10,000, and more power to him.
Mhm.
But let's be realistic,
Right.
And what I tell people is that the way you price your work is based on. It usually will take you a day to create a piece, right? So whatever you want to pay yourself for that day's worth of work, $500, let's say that's what you're worth, or $200, your day's worth of work, you can equate it to that, and that's what you would charge for a piece. I
Mhm.
also tell people charge by the square foot.
Right.
$200 is $100. Is not a huge price to ask for a piece of artwork, because you have to take in consideration the cost of materials.
Yeah.
All
And
of
your
that.
time.
And, right. Absolutely, and that's the most important thing that people tend to forget, is that your time's the most valuable, and your artwork, the way you should let people know this is a skilled craft.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're just buying something off the shelf that it's been, mass produced.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a skill set.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a couple more questions here. But first, Karlos, looking at where you've evolved to now, and you've been doing this for so long, is there maybe a roadblock you've come up against, or like a bump, and you've kind of learned a lesson that you want to share with anybody who is, looking to get into this business?
Yes. I mean, I've had a lot of roadblocks, if you want to call them that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very tenacious. I'm very persistent. I think that's one thing that's helped me. But there's people that don't want your art, don't care for your art. Move on.
Mm-hmm.
Don't focus your energy, or don't try to beat a dead horse, as they say. Try to find an audience that is willing to listen to you and support your art. A lot of people, they get discouraged because they say, well, nobody's like my art. You can't say that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say that, And I've run into projects where, somebody else decided to go a different route, and I didn't let that, discourage me, and took that project elsewhere and got it done. So what if anything I could tell anybody to do is to not to stop.
Yeah.
To stay determined, and because I've noticed, and this is from my own personal experiences, that the people that are successful, the people that I've known that have made a great career, have continuously kept going, kept the course, and never gave up. Because I stopped doing artwork for a while, and everything kept going. And I think, and as far as a life experience, I think that's what I would want to share with people, is that don't stop what you're doing. Just keep doing it.
Yeah, that's
because,
good advice.
Yeah. If once you stop, to get back into the momentum, it's really hard. But more importantly, if you're determined, sooner or later, it's going to come, and somebody's going to recognize you. They're going to see your work, and I've seen it happen with my own eyes. Mm-hmm. So be determined. Don't deviate from what you're doing, and sooner or later you're going to get there. I mean, I get to to this day, I'm always get filled with surprises that people will reach out to me and they want to do a project. Now, if I decide to stop tomorrow, where does that put me?
Right. Well, a day behind, and everybody else is still doing their thing. No, that's great advice.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Life. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I admire about people that stuck with it, and I think that's key. Stick with it, no matter what. Stick with it.
That's great advice. Now, Karlos, let me ask you this before we wrap. Where can people find you? Where can they see you on the?
You can go to my website, which is Karlos with a K, Marquez.com, and my last name is Marquez .com. Mm-hmm. And I'm in different galleries, furniture stores like here in Los Angeles. I'm in Cisco Home, throughout different locations from Costa Mesa to Pasadena, Brentwood, Melrose. Also, throughout different states. So, I even got my artwork in Nashville,
Oh, wow, that's
that,
great.
yeah, and they're like, wow, they like graffiti art in Nashville. And I have a store in Missouri,
Wow,
Colorado, Miami,
that's great.
and New York, so I'm kind of everywhere. I'm at Lifestyle Design in Santa Monica.
Okay.
I'm up in Palo Alto. That's another fun one because, Silicon Valley, here, I would have never thought my artwork would be up in Silicon Valley.
Yeah. Well, that's a great thing.
So.
It could be anywhere. That's great. Well, I just want to thank you for taking time to tell us what you do, how you did it, and, keep doing it because it's so colorful. The stuff that you have on your site is positive. It's love, it's colorful, and, it's whimsical and happy, and that's what really, drew me to these pieces. And so I want to thank you for, not only, giving of yourself for so long, putting yourself out there, but, taking your time to, talk to me and tell me a little bit about what you do. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Yeah, thank you. And like I said, if you're a young artist and you want to get to where you feel like you're fulfilling your dreams, just stick with it. And most importantly, I always tell people just have fun.
Yeah.
It's all about having fun. And look at here I'm talking to you. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. All right. Well, listen, Karlos, take care. And
You too now.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed my chat with street artist Karlos Marquez. I recommend you check out his work online, and there's even a video of his background on his site and how he became to be where he is today. Also, check him out on social media. And please leave any comments in the section below. If you have someone or certain job you'd like me to cover or look into, email me at workuniversityforyou@gmail.com. That's workuniversity, the number 4, the letter U, @gmail.com. Until next time, take care.